Welcome to Olympian Water Testing, giving you the best in water analysis. Today we are looking at ATSDR, the Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. And we're taking a look at barium. So we're going to get into what barium is, what happens when it enters the environment, how might you be exposed to it, is it bad for you, can it affect your health, and a lot of other information you may need to know. So first of all, what is barium? It's a silvery white metal that takes on a silver yellow color when exposed to air, and barium occurs in nature in many different forms called compounds. And these compounds are solids existing as powders or crystals, and they do not burn well. Two forms of barium, barium sulfate and barium carbonate, are often found in nature as underground or deposits. And barium is sometimes found naturally in drinking water and food, and because certain barium compounds, barium sulfate and barium carbonate, do not mix well with water, the amount of barium is usually found in the drinking water is small. Other barium compounds such as barium chloride, barium nitrate, and barium hydroxide are manufactured from barium sulfate, and barium compounds such as barium acetate, barium chloride, and barium hydroxide, nitrate, sulfide dissolve more easily in water than barium sulfate does, and barium carbonate. But because it's not commonly found in nature, they do not typically end up in drinking water unless the water is contaminated by barium compounds that are released from waste sites. Also, barium and barium compounds are used for many important purposes. Barium sulfate ore is mined and used in several industries. It's used mostly by the oil and gas industry to make drilling muds, and drilling muds make it easier to drill through rock by keeping the drill bit lubricated. Also, barium sulfate is used to make paint, bricks, tiles, gas, rubber, and other barium compounds. And some barium compounds, such as barium carbonate, barium chloride, and barium hydroxide, are used to make ceramics, insect and rat poisons, and additives for oils and fuels, and treatment of boiler water, and the production of barium greases as a compound in sealants, paper manufacturing and sugar refining, and animal and vegetable refining, and the projection of objects made of limestone from deterioration. Also, barium sulfate is sometimes used by doctors to perform medical tests and take x-ray photographs of stomach and intestines. So there's a lot of different uses. But what happens when it gets into our environment? The length of time that barium will last in the air, land, and water sediments following the release of barium into these media depends on the form of barium released, and barium compounds do not dissolve well in water. That's why they can be a dangerous contaminant, such as barium sulfate and barium carbonate can persist for a long time in the environment. Also, barium compounds such as barium chloride, barium nitrate, or barium hydroxide dissolve easily in water, usually do not last in these forms for a long time and in the environment. Barium in these compounds, as dissolved in water quickly, combines with sulfate carbonate that are naturally found in water and become the longer-lasting forms, barium sulfate and carbonate. And sulfate and barium carbonate are mostly found in soil and water, and if sulfate and barium carbonate are released onto land, they will combine with particles of the soil. So how might you be exposed to it? Well, background levels of barium in the environment are very low, and the air that most people contain about 0.0015 parts of barium, ppb parts per billion, and the air around factories that release barium compounds into the air 0.33. Most surface water and public water supplies on average are 0.03 parts of barium per parts per million, but can average as high as 0.3 parts per million in some regions of the United States. People with the greatest known risk of exposure of barium are those in the working industries that can make or use barium compounds, or exposed people who breathe the air that contain barium sulfate or carbonate. And how does it leave your body? When you breathe air, eat food, or drink water containing barium, it can enter your body, but barium enters your body through breathing, eating, or drinking, is removed mainly when you go to the bathroom, and most of the barium that enters your body is removed within 1 to 2 weeks. Now, there's a lot of interesting things to take a look at on barium, but that is the basics of it. While it has some uses for the industrial sector, it can still get into the water, into your body, and cause some issues. That's why it's always a good idea to periodically test your water for high levels of barium.